Seventh day of the knife cycle. Seventh day of the shedding old skin cycle. Seventh day of establishing new relationships by setting up new boundaries and creating space with the past. Cycle. Today's totem is the lizard, and the lizard represents regeneration. This is the climax of the cycle, and since the climax is about regeneration, this is the day to create new relationships. Listen, you can pretty much imagine, hey, shit's cut off now. It's time to move forward. You should already be doing something that you should have been doing or establishing that new circle. Your circle should be cut down by it right now. This old circle of yours, this old circle of mine, it should be drastically cut down in size, and it should be with people who are of like minds, people who have your vision in mind, people who are trying to get money like you, people that you want to get money like. Lizard is a good day to work on your reputation through your action. Lizard is a good day to work on your reputation through your deeds. This lizard represents the reversal, a rapid reversal in fortune. Things could be going good, then bam, messed up. Then bam, it's going good. You never know. This knife cycle, cutting old habits, old relationships. So why is it that you see a new circle forming around you? You're reconnecting with people that you haven't reconnected with in a while. Why is this? Because the Mayan frequency is moving us along toward a new relationship, a new place to be. This is a time of newness. Now, it's definitely important because it coincides with a time of celebrating the ancestors, celebrating those who've passed on. See, but underneath this is some devil worship.
Young black male rappers keep dying. You know who's not dying? Record executives. The record executives that push for them to continue to make songs and create a culture that is obsessed with death, drugs, and sex. Period. The industry's obsessed with it, but those record executives, they're not dying. Because
remember, this knife cycle is governed by this deity who is the ruler over the northern realm of the dead. This guy, Miktagtentutli, he is obsessed with death. He is obsessed with bones. He's obsessed with death and dying and people killing each other and shit. But you took somebody. Somebody was just taken that you should not have taken. You should not have taken TAKEOFF, because your mask is about to be taken off. The message for today is we have to take off the mask. This message is not just from me. It's not from me. Yes, I Mayan frequencies and things like this, but I'm telling you, this message, it's time to take the mask off. It's time to take off the mask. It's time to take off the old man, and it's time to put on the new man. These relationships are being offset. These relationships are being offset. We need a new relationship with ourselves, with our true selves, not with the mask that we're wearing, because it's this mask that this ruler of the northern realm is using against us. We have to be comfortable with who we are without a filter, without makeup, without putting on a front, without feeling like we have to be cool and whatever it is that puts us away from being. It's time to take. Look at that big old black nose. Well, I told you this knife cycle, everybody's feeling the sharp edge of the knife. And what is this knife cycle about? It's about shedding old relationships. These relationships are being put on the chopping block. Relationships between players and executives, rappers and executives, rappers amongst rappers. You letting shit, you got all this money and you just outdoing. What kind of relationships do our people have? This is what's at stake. And you got to understand it from SHAQ's position, because posting that kind of stuff on your media, I understand it makes sense, but you are risking. You're being very risky with what it does for everybody else. So I don't agree with him being called an idiot, but you got to think. That big old black nose. I just did a basic search because I heard that he apologized. And I'm going to tell you this. I could give two shits whether he apologized. I could give two shits. I still like Kyrie Irving. I still like Shaquille O'Neal. Because it's basketball. If I was Kyrie's manager, I would tell him, listen, before you post this video, it's going to cause you problems. That media man, he should have never asked Kyrie about that. You have to protect yourself and act out of strength. So if you can't act out of strength, don't ruffle nobody's feathers. Doesn't that make sense? What do y'all think? Look at that big old Olmec nose. Like I say, like Pharaoh said. Sometimes you just got to go to work and work. I enjoy being able to make money at the part-time job that I have because I can go there, make my money, and get up out of there, invest it in stuff that I'm doing now. But when I go there, I'm there to work. I'm not there to be a Muslim. I'm not there to be a Hebrew Israelite. I speak Spanish. People come there, they speak Spanish. They want to see this tall nigga that speaks Spanish. And you know what? I'm that tall brother that speaks Spanish. While I'm there talking to Venezuelans. Get your money, go to work, go home. I want Kyrie Irving to be strong. I want Kyrie Irving to be strong. I don't want nothing happening to Kyrie Irving. I wouldn't want nothing happening to him. Because you know what? Because these relationships where we aren't free to speak our mind. Listen, working in a restaurant, somebody called me boy one time. And you know what I did? I cussed his ass out. In front of everybody. I didn't lose my job. Look, I will cuss you out if you disrespect me. I will cuss you out. I don't like being intimidated. But I'm there to do what I got to do. I'm going to tell you, hold on, look at that big old black nose, that Olmec nose. Now, I'm not mad at Shaq, and I'm not mad at Charles Barkley. And I'm going to tell you why. It's unfortunate that on this thing that's called the NBA, we know that it's like a plantation. Many of them will say it's like a plantation because they know what happens when you're doing this, when somebody is on the fringe. You know this is what's going to happen. I'm praying for the day our people don't have to live like this. That's what I'm praying for. That's why I love all of them. And I pray the day comes soon that our people don't have to play this game. That's why this knife cycle, we got to cut this shit off, man. 8th day of the knife cycle. 8th day of the shed old skin cycle. 8th day of cut off old relationships and start a new relationship cycle. This is the 8th day and it's governed. The totem is the serpent. You got the knife cycle and here's the serpent. Some skin is getting shed. Or a head's getting cut off. Removing the head of the snake. Listen, this is a good time to put all your relationships on the chopping block. You look at them. Do you want them? Do you want this relationship? Do you want that relationship? Do you want to keep it? This is the good day to cut it off, to remove the skin, to shed the skin, to be rid of the skin. That's what today's all about. Now, I'm not asking you to do nothing drastic, but I think it's time to remove all that excess weight and plastic. Chopping block. Put it on the chopping block. Put it on the cutting board and just cut it up. See if you want it. But listen, don't get rid of a whole bunch of shit. Sometimes you don't got to change your relationship. You just may have to change an aspect of it. And this is what the serpent represents. It represents acting out of strength. I know you want to change the relationship, but do you really have the power to do it right now? Oh, you ready to divorce him, huh? You ready to divorce, but you know you got to stack your chips. You know you got to stack them chips first, right? You stack the chips, then you dip. Say it with me. Stack your chips, then you dip. That's for all you out there. We trying to, you know. Now, you got to stack it. Stack it, rack it, get your luggage and pack it. That's when you leave, when you got the strength to do it. Ninth day of the knife cycle. Ninth day of the shed old skin cycle. Ninth day of the cut off old relationship and hopefully establish a new relationship. Relationships on the chopping block. Cycle. This ninth day is totemed by the skull and crossbones. Death. This represents the boundaries to the other side. This is a day of pushing the boundaries. This is a day of understanding your limits. Also understanding the limits to where you can go. You don't want to go past that line. But you know, if you go past that line, you got to keep moving. You got to keep growing. This is a day where we honor our ancestors. It's also a day where we don't cling on so much to the living, because we know that we're always moving toward death. Every once in a while, you need to be reminded of your priorities. Matters of the state take precedence, baby. Sometimes you got to refocus yourself. And on this ninth day, we just got a few days left. We got to get the priorities in line. It's best to remind us of our priorities in life, except those who have went before us, those who have laid the foundation and are guiding us to focus on the priorities in our life and the things that must be done. This ninth day is a day of understanding how important putting things in place is. Oh, you got to know where things go so you know where to go. Look at that big old Mayan Olmec nose. I told you this 13-day cycle is going to expose relationships that need to be cut off. We're not dealing with relationships that you should hold on to. You don't get the knife to not cut shit. And you normally cut the shit that you don't need. So why is this happening? Why does the Mayan why is this so important to understand? Because right here in America, see, this calendar is for America. You should see what's going on. You got the Kanye on the chopping block. You got the KYRIE on the chopping block. But no, they're not the ones on the chopping block. It's the relationship and the fallout that expresses the relationship that Black people have with other communities. You got to understand that. This has to be cut. It's gonna get cut, whether you like it or not. Look at that big old Olmec nose. Ha! I told you, this knife cycle is gonna reveal a lot of stuff about our relationship. Because this Mayan calendar, I'm gonna tell you, this Mayan calendar is about you and me, Black America. It's about us. It's about us. Us here in North America, in the region of the dead. This cycle is governed by this being who is the ruler over. So, of course, the ruler of this area sets up all these relationships. And these relationships are the things that have to be cut. Now, if you look at us, look at what happened between the Migos. Look at what happened between them and why they separated over relationship issues. Did I tell you relationships was behind this? Hold on. And here's KYRIE. He's got this weak basketball players got this weird I want you to take a good look at this being right here. Now, this man is called Miktantatutli. I think I'm saying it right. Now, America, the northern realm, is called, they didn't call it America. They called it Mictland. Mictland. And Mictland is where this man, Miktantatutli, He basically rules over this place because this is where all the bones are. He's where all the bones are. He's associated with three animals. The bat, which is, and then you also have the bat. He's associated with the bat. He's associated with the owl, and he's associated with the spider, the web, the sight at night, being able to see at the nightlife, and also vampirism. So here we have two relationships that are definitely on the minds of everybody right now. And this is what the Mayan frequency is. It's this knife cycle, right? You have one relationship, which you had the Migos. We'll never see the Migos together again. Never. Why? Because one of them was unfortunately murdered. And what was the cultural reasons? What were some of the cultural things? What were some of the things that we have to cut off? See, when you have status like that, you must be protected at all costs. Why? Because it's no reason to put your pearls before swine so people can just get at you. And then we have Kyrie Irving. They want him to damn near beg. Stay strong, Kyrie Irving. We got to cut this relationship. 10th day of the knife cycle. 10th day of the shed old skin cycle. 10th day of the cut off the old relationship, create some space. Let's start all over again the right way. Cycle! Today's totem is the deer, and the deer represents the hunt. Boy, let me tell you, when you cutting off these old relationships, that people don't want to see that shit stop. Oh no, man, you sometimes you are a prey and don't even know it. But this is why we got to cut these, listen, the knife is here to cut shit off. It's not happy. This is not happy times. It's happy because you cutting some shit off that you really don't need. That's what makes it so good. The deer is the prey. It's the hunt. Who's coming after your behind? Some people don't even really want you. Some relationships, they just want to use you and don't want to give up no benefit. This is why the KYRIE situation is so relevant to this knife cycle. Because all these, these presidents, these owners, these companies, they want you to be in your place. Like they said, we're going to put him in his place. And that's really not the kind of relationship the human being should have. There ain't no slave-master relationship. Nobody wants to live in that type of thing. We understand there's order to everything. But if a man has a belief system, if the man thinks a certain way and ain't overdoing it, man, why you got to make him? 11th day of the knife cycle. 11th day of the shed old skin cycle. 11th day of the cut off them old toxic relationships and establish new relationships. Cycle. Today's 11th day totem is the rabbit. And the rabbit represents the path to dignity, that we all must walk the path to dignity. You got to have some type of dignity within yourself to be able to establish those new relationships. You can't have a sense of dignity and remain in relationships that are not good for you. Dignify yourself. That's the goal. That's the idea of the rabbit, is to dignify yourself. Understand yourself. Have enough integrity. Walk that path to establish a better relationship for yourself. Are you ready to put that work in to understand how people treat you? Are you ready to put that work in to disconnect yourself, to separate yourself from that toxic shit that you know is not good for you? If you are left in limbo, you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know how they really feel. But you really don't care, because you know that in order to have a good conscience, you and I deserve freedom, justice, and equality. And that's within our relationships. What you give out, you should be able to receive back. If you're not receiving that which you're getting and they've broken that agreement, it's time to just move on. It's time to have enough dignity to move on and to work on that inner being, that inner dignity, so that we don't repeat it again. Look at that big old black nose, that old Olmec Mayan nose. Now, for those of you who have not seen this latest video, one of the latest videos of Charleston White, I really want you to take a look at it. And I want you to learn something from it. And here's what I want you to learn from this. I want you to learn that sometimes being the jester, being playful, and playing your position, putting the truth in the right environment will get you further than by risking what you have. See, his advice is it's better to hold on to the money you got, put yourself in the right environment. He's represented by the bat, and he's represented by the spider. So these are all animals that, for one, you have the owl, which represents wisdom. I mean, these owls, these represent like executives. These represent, movement, people who move with wisdom through the night. Whoo! They can see who you are, what's going on. They know who, they know what, they know how, they know when, they know where, they know why. This is the motherfucking owl. They know everything about the nightlife. Okay? Then there's the bat. The bat represents vampirism. These mugs are vampires, man. They're nightlife, they're bloodsuckers, okay? This is the ruler of this time period, of this northern hemisphere. Mictlan is what the Mayans called it. The Aztec called this North America. They called it Mictlan, the northern realm of the dead. And so the bloodsuckers. And then you have another group, the net, I don't want to say it before it's time, but it's the spider. And spiders weave webs. Okay? Spiders weave webs. So you know what a web is, right? It's webs. It's interconnections. Talk about internets, man. Rulers of the internet. Rulers of the traps. All these being Mictlantecuhtli, he's the blood-sucking people. He's the internet people, the people who control this shit, the web people, the spider people. And we're also talking about the owl people. These are the wise people. The knife cycle representing shedding old skin, representing cutting off relationships. In North America, remember this calendar deals with North America, and it deals with the frequency of what's going on in the minds of the people. So what did you see during this cycle? About the third day in, of course, you saw KYRIE Irving. He kind of started surfacing last cycle because Kanye kind of ruled the last couple cycles. Then KYRIE and TAKEOFF, last 13 days, they really were firmly rooted in this last 13 days in what's trending. 13th day of the knife cycle. 13th day of the shed old skin cycle. 13th day of the shadow of cut off that negative relationship and establish a whole new relationship cycle. Today's totem is the dog. Roof, roof. And the dog represents the journey to the other side. And I'm telling you today, November 9th, a whole lot of stuff has changed politically, and the dog is showing us the way. The dog is showing us the way to a whole new reality, to a whole new cycle. The dog, the new relationships, I can see it coming. I can see it coming. This is the day to talk about those who you can depend on. The dog is that faithful advisor. When you come in the pitch, the dog is there to help you. The dog is there to protect you. Look here, my sister called me this morning. She's gonna drop my nephew off. She said, our cars got towed. We need you, brother. Here I come. Oh, the dog is we're gonna guide you to the other side, baby. If you need to go get your car towed, I'm the one. So today, as the dog guides us to a whole new cycle, to a whole, these relationships, they're being cut. This is what you got to understand politically, what this means in Georgia. Georgia on my mind. Oh, it's on my mind, baby. It's on my mind. And the dog is here to guide us to the other side, baby. I really hope you have enjoyed watching the knife cycle at work. I hope you have enjoyed it because we're starting a brand new cycle. But let's go over some things. The hip hop industry, the crap that goes on amongst Black Americans, our people, it's on the chopping block. And a lot of the rulers of this thing, they've been exposed. I want you to let this thing that happened to TAKEOFF in the city of Houston, I want you to use this as an example of who's doing what, okay? Because it helps you to understand the culture that needs to be reestablished. And of course, the issue with KYRIE. These relationships between executive and player is coming to an end.